Hello and welcome to Future Self Dreaming. My name is Carlos Kukulkan. In previous presentations I have referred to the work of the philosopher and author Robert Anton Wilson, in particular his books titled Cosmic Trigger and Prometheus Rising. In today's presentation I'm going to give an introduction to the 8-circuit model of consciousness that was originally developed by Timothy Leary in this book, Exopsychology, and it's expanded upon in Robert Anton Wilson's books. The ideas presented within this model have been helpful for me personally when navigating through and integrating experiences with non-ordinary reality, and in coming to terms with the potential for neurological upgrades that result in vast leaps of perceptual awareness. Now, many people these days are aware of the concept of the Triune Brain, a model of Homo sapien evolution proposed by the American physician and neuroscientist Paul MacLean. The concept of the Triune Brain is that humans have 3 primary layers of the brain that have evolved over a span of millions of years. These 3 layers consist of the Reptilian Complex, or basal ganglia, the Paleomammalian Complex, otherwise known as the limbic system, and the Neomammalian Complex, known as the neocortex. The Reptilian Brain, or R complex, is the oldest layer. It controls the body's vital functions such as heart rate, breathing, body temperature and balance. Our reptilian brain includes the main structures found in a reptile's brain, those being the brainstem and the cerebellum. MacLean proposed that the reptilian complex was responsible for species-type instinctual behaviors involved in aggression, dominance, territoriality and ritual displays. This part of the brain activates the fight, flight and freeze response. The Paleomammalian Complex, or limbic brain, emerged in the first mammals and is responsible for emotions, memories, habits, and attachment. It is the part of the brain responsible for the motivation and emotion involved in feeding, reproduction, and parental behavior. The Neomammalian Complex consists of the cerebral neocortex, a structure found uniquely in higher mammals, especially in humans. The addition of this brain layer is regarded as the most recent step in the evolution of the mammalian brain, conferring the ability for language, abstraction, reasoning, rationalization, planning, and perception. It is also generally recognized that the left side of the brain is responsible for controlling the right side of the body and performs tasks that have to do with logic, such as science and mathematics, while on the other hand the right hemisphere coordinates the left side of the body and performs tasks that have to do with creativity and the arts. So with this concept of the triune brain in mind, let's expand on the 8-circuit model of consciousness developed by psychedelic advocate Dr. Timothy Leary. His perspectives in understanding neurological space arise from the idea that the nervous system consists of 8 potential circuits or mini-brains. Robert Anton Wilson and Timothy Leary refer to the concept that individuals experience their own unique tunnel realities that emerge as a result of neurological imprinting that occurs during early lifespan development. Leary hypothesized that 4 of these circuits or mini-brains are in the usually active left lobe and are concerned with our terrestrial survival, and 4 reside in the less active right lobe, and he described these as extraterrestrial, or for use in our future evolution. He also explains that this might be why the right lobe becomes more active when a person ingests psychedelics. The 4 lower terrestrial circuits deal with normal psychology, while the upper 4 or stellar circuits deal with psychic, mystical, enlightened, and psychedelic states of mind. These higher circuits are considered to have only recently evolved, with a small proportion of human beings currently utilizing them. The higher the circuit, the less people generally have activated it. Dr. Leary describes that the first 4 developmental circuits are necessary for survival and function within a terrestrial human environment, and he proposes that the higher 4 circuits exist primarily for future use by humans who might someday migrate into outer space and live beyond the confines and conditions of this planet. So, to elaborate on each of these 8 brain circuits, let's start with the first circuit that's known as the Aural biosurvival circuit. So this part of the brain was the first to evolve in invertebrates several billion years ago, and is the first that's activated when a human infant is born. It programs perception into an either-or grid that is divided into nurturing and helpful things which it approaches, and noxious or dangerous things which it flees or attacks. The imprinting of this circuit sets up the basic attitude of trust or suspicion that will last for life. It also identifies the external stimuli which will forever trigger approach or avoidance. This circuit is concerned with activities involving nourishment, physical safety, comfort, and survival. And a positive imprint sets up a basic attitude of trust, and a negative imprint sets up a basic attitude of suspicion. The second mini-brain or circuit is known as the emotional territorial circuit. This second, more advanced brain hardware formed when vertebrates appeared and began to compete for territory on the planet. In individual development, this next stage is activated when the script encoded in our DNA triggers a metamorphosis from crawling to standing upright and walking. At this stage of development, the toddler is no longer a passive infant who is focused purely on the first circuit stage of biological survival, but is now developing into a mammalian politician who is full of physical and psychic territorial demands and is quick to get involved in family business and decision making. As with all the first four circuits, unless the person is later brainwashed, the initial imprint on this circuit remains constant for life, and it identifies the stimuli which will automatically trigger dominant aggressive behavior or submissive cooperative behavior. So when we say that a person is behaving emotionally, egotistically, or like a 2-year-old, we mean that he or she is unconsciously following one of the tunnel realities imprinted on this circuit. So this brings us to the third mini-brain, which is known as the Dexterity Symbolism Circuit. It's hypothesized that this third brain was formed when hominid types began to differentiate from other primates. It is activated when the slightly older child begins handling artifacts and begins to transmit cultural information via speech. Now, if the environment of the developing child is stimulating, they take on an intelligent imprint, and this third circuit, within this third circuit rather, and they also become dexterous and articulate. However, if the environment consists of dull people, the child may take on a stupid imprint and remain at a relatively childlike state of artifact clumsiness and symbol blindness throughout later life. Robert Anton Wilson, being heavily influenced by general semantics, writes of this circuit as the time-binding circuit. This term means that this circuit's contents that include all human know-how, technology, and science are preserved mimetically and are passed on from generation to generation, constantly mutating and increasing in sophistication. So in summarizing these first three circuits, or mini-brains, the first circuit tunnel reality is generally called consciousness, that is, the sense of being here and now in this body, orientated to the survival of the body. The second circuit in this same vernacular language is called ego, and so-called ego is the second circuit mammalian sense of status that can be defined as a sense of importance or unimportance within a pack or a tribe. The third circuit is what we generally call mind, which is the capacity to receive, integrate, and transmit signals produced by the hominid hand, which are known as artifacts, or by transmitting cultural symbols and information via speech. The imprinting of these first three circuits determines the basic degree and style of distrust or trust that will color our consciousness, the degree and style of assertiveness or submissiveness that will determine ego status, and the degree and style of cleverness or clumsiness with which mind handles tools and ideas. So in evolutionary terms, first brain consciousness is basically invertebrate and is passively floating towards nurture and retreating from danger. Second brain ego is mammalian and always struggling for status in the tribal pecking order. And the third brain, mind, is Paleolithic and is hooked into human culture, dealing with life through many human-made gadgets and much human-created symbolism. The fourth brain, in evolutionary terms, was post-hominid and specifically characteristic of domesticated Homo sapiens. This fourth mini-brain is called the Socio-Sexual Circuit. This circuit was formed when tribes evolved and formed societies and conditioned specific sex roles for their members. In the individual, it is activated at puberty when the DNA signals a glandular release of sexual neurochemicals and the metamorphosis into adulthood begins. The first orgasms or mating experiences imprint a characteristic sex role, which again is biochemically bonded. In daily speech, fourth circuit imprints and tunnel realities are known as the adult personality. This circuit has elements of social conditioning within it, or cultural rules that over time have formed into religious laws about the appropriateness of sexual behaviour of an individual within that society. This is a form of behavioural conditioning based on a punishment-reward system that is designed to exert control over human reproduction and the continuation of the genetic ancestral line. These first four circuits, that I've just outlined, are normally all the networks within the brain that are ever activated. The reason that Timothy Leary called them terrestrial is due to them having evolved on and being shaped by the gravitational, climatic, and environmental, energetic, social conditions that determine survival and reproduction on this type of planet. He hypothesized that intelligent organisms born in outer space, not competing for territory on a finite planet surface, would inevitably develop different circuits. Now, since each of these tunnel realities consists of biochemical imprints in the nervous system, each of them is specifically triggered by neurotransmitters that can be activated by exogenous ingestion of drugs. So, for instance, to activate the first brain, the first circuit, you can take an opiate, which brings you down to cellular intelligence and biosurvival passivity, the floating consciousness of the newborn. And this is why Freudians identify opiate addiction with the desire to return to infancy. To activate the second tunnel reality, take an abundant quality of alcohol and watch the vertebrate territorial patterns and mammalian emotional politics immediately appear when the booze flows. This circuit is activated by depressant drugs such as alcohol, barbiturates, and benzodiazepines. To activate the third circuit, try caffeine, amphetamines, or cocaine and watch the productivity involved in the use of tools and technology increase, along with the transference of information via the use of symbols and written language and speech become very activated. The specific neurotransmitter for circuit 4 that is generated by the glands after pubescence has not yet been synthesized. It seems, however, that MDMA might meet some of the requirements needed to potentially activate this circuit. Now, none of these terrestrial drugs changes the basic biochemical imprints on the circuits. The behaviours which they activate are those which were wired into the nervous system during the first stages of imprint vulnerability. For instance, a drunk person exhibits the same emotional games or cons that they learned from their parents in infancy that have been imprinted on their second circuit. This triggering is similar to the behavioural conditioning in the experiment of Pavlov's dog, whereby the dog is conditioned to salivate upon hearing the ringing of a bell when it gets its food, and then after a period of time you can just ring the bell and it will salivate without any food being produced. This type of robotic behaviour in humans changes drastically when we turn to the right lobe and these future evolutionary circuits that are held within the right lobe that become activated by what might be called extraterrestrial chemistry. So those that have activated these circuits might best be referred to as terrestrial mutants. When attempting to describe the higher circuits, there's often the need to use science fiction style metaphors, as it can be challenging to elaborate to those who have not experienced the effects of these revelatory states of consciousness in using just language alone. So these extraterrestrial circuits or states of consciousness in recent times seem to be what have activated the creative impulses that are rapidly influencing the technological development of our society. What was only recently considered science fiction is quickly becoming science fact, whereby the exponentially increasing application of technology is advancing these prophetic ideas into reality. So another metaphor is the transformation of the future butterfly. The future butterfly already has encoded into its DNA, or the DNA of the caterpillar, its future evolution, and humanity's future evolution may already be encoded into our genetics. And for various evolutionary purposes, it seems that on a planetary scale we are currently awakening or reawakening this evolutionary metamorphosis. The left lobe terrestrial circuits contain the learned lessons of our evolutionary past, whereas the right lobe extraterrestrial circuits are the evolutionary script for our future. So with that in mind, let's explore the 4 evolving future brains, beginning with the 5th circuit that is known as the neurosomatic circuit. And when this 5th circuit is activated, a hedonic turn-on occurs. This involves consciousness of the body and can result in great amusement and a detachment from the previously compulsive behavior of the first 4 circuits. The accompanying sensation of bliss activated in this circuit allows for reprogramming of our somatic awareness. A non-conceptual feeling of well-being may arise that can lead to beneficial effects on the health of the physical body. This experience of being high and blissed out is why this circuit is also referred to as the Rapture Circuit. Our perception shifts from a previously predominant linear visual space to an all-encompassing sensory or aesthetic space. Previously flat Euclidean configurations begin to explode multidimensionally. Perceptions begin to be judged not so much for their meaning and their utility, but for their aesthetic quality. When this newly awakened circuit in your nervous system becomes activated, you experience the world as having more beauty as you encounter it through a heightened somatic sensation. The chemical that activates this particular brain circuit is, of course, cannabis or marijuana. The chemistry found in this plant allows the rapturous experience associated with that of being high or spaced out. And this experience may also be achieved through some forms of yoga and the tantric sexual arts, whereby sensuous play and orgasm is prolonged. Occult practitioners such as yogis and shamans have been preoccupied with opening and imprinting this circuit by utilizing practices involving sensory deprivation, social isolation, psychological stress or severe shock, which can kick this circuit into action. And when this occurs, the shift from the dominance of the left hemisphere of the brain into the right lobe results. Now, the 6th circuit is known as the neuroelectric or metaprogramming circuit. This 6th brain consists of the nervous system becoming aware of itself above and beyond the first 4 circuits or imprinted gravitational reality maps, and even above the 5th circuit. Dr. John Lilly uses the term metaprogramming to describe the awareness of programming one's programming. This state of 6th circuit activation is an experience that becomes filled with alternate possibility, and the earlier perceptions of reality that are imprinted on the first 4 circuits begin to become recognized as limited perceptions among billions of possible programs or models for experience. Strong psychedelic chemical compounds such as mescaline, psilocybin, and LSD can open and activate this 6th metaprogramming circuit. The characteristics of the neuroelectric circuit are high velocity, multiple choice, relativity, and a fission and fusion of all perceptions into parallel science fiction universes of alternate possibilities. Advanced yogic and alchemical practices can also open this state on rare occasions. This circuit is concerned with biochemically opening, re-imprinting, and reprogramming all the earlier circuits or perceptions of reality. As a result, the previous reality that was perceived becomes an alternate experience. The 6th circuit consists of the nervous system becoming aware of itself and how the individual's reality is encountered through the lens of these neurological imprints that had been laid down in earlier life. Dr. Timothy Leary says that this circuit enables telepathic communication, and he suggests that the evolutionary function of the 6th circuit is to enable us to communicate not by transmitting symbols simply via speech, but by transcending the earlier 3rd circuit and directly utilizing telepathy and computer link-up. Leary suggested that the experience of getting high on the 5th circuit is preparation for migration off the planet, and that the 6th circuit identifies the need for the capacity to translate communication and language from other species. Science fiction writers often encode the types of concepts associated with Circuit 6 into their books and movie scripts, which can also be why these can be amazing to watch whilst high on the Fifth Circuit. Concepts such as machines that can act like universal translators of language give us an idea how the Sixth Circuit can operate in this translation capacity for interspecies communication with advanced entities possessing electronic or post-verbal tunnel realities. Concepts that we are starting to become aware of, such as the idea that we may already exist in some type of holographic computer simulation, are likely bleed-throughs of perception from this reality circuit. Modern-day visionaries such as Elon Musk excel these types of ideas. Current technological development is heading towards an electronic neural link that operates like another technological brain layer that might wirelessly connect our nervous system into a matrix-style internet operating system. We also already have technology that, such as earpieces that go in your ears and can translate different human languages. So the possibility of the technological translation of interspecies language is not so far-fetched. When operating from this Sixth Circuit state of consciousness, the earlier mammalian politics that govern power struggles among terrestrial humanity are transcended and seem like elaborate charades and emotional game playing and drama. Moving on to the seventh mini-brain, which is called the neurogenetic or morphogenetic circuit. This seventh brain circuit kicks into action when dialogue between the DNA and RNA occurs. The resultant experience is that associated with the recall of past lives, reincarnation, and the potential for conscious immortality. All of evolution to this specific moment in time is embraced with a recollection of the multi-generational ancestral lineage that has brought the individual's brain and mind to its present level. Experiences of symbiosis with other species are very common when this circuit becomes activated, and the biosphere of Earth may be encountered as one single unified organism in the historical mind or dream of the planet. These types of experiences have been documented by various groups, philosophers and psychologists through a multitude of metaphors. Carl Jung refers to this as accessing the collective unconscious, Stanislav Grof as the phylogenetic unconscious, Theosophists have referred to it as the Akashic records, and science may term it something like the genetic archives. Now, near-death experiences may activate this trans-time circuit, resulting in descriptions of visions of past and future evolution during the out-of-body encounter. The types of chemical that can trigger these experiences are LSD, DMT, as well as high doses of mescaline and psilocybin. Some deep meditational, contemplative, and yogic practices may also temporarily result in the endogenous activation of these genetic memories. Again, the types of ideas that were considered mere science fiction when Timothy Leary was proposing this 8-circuit model of consciousness are rapidly becoming science fact. Longevity and concepts such as physical immortality are on the event horizon, perhaps within the next few generations. The evolutionary function of the 7th circuit tunnel reality is an experience that spans eons in preparation for us to experience conscious immortality. Now, the 8th, the last circuit, is called the neuroatomic circuit, otherwise known as the psychoatomic or quantum non-local circuit. Another term for this might be the galactic overmind or oversoul. Encounters with this circuit result in the recognition that consciousness precedes biology and DNA. Activation of this 8th circuit provides access to a quantum communication system that does not require a biological body through which to perceive reality. The term extraterrestrial unconscious was coined by Dr. Kenneth Ring to describe this level of consciousness. The types of encounters with this circuit generally are related to those described as out-of-body experiences, astral projection, or contact with alien or extraterrestrial entities, or with a galactic overmind. When the nervous system is tuned in to this quantum level circuit, perception of space-time becomes obliterated. The individual nervous system links into the nervous system of the galaxy, activating faster than light or superluminal communication. The experience of holography and fractality, whereby the whole is found in every part, is a universal experience on this circuit. It is very common for encounters with mysterious entities that may be perceived as angels or extraterrestrials to occur when this circuit becomes activated. As I've outlined in previous presentations, there may also come the realization that encounters with these beings are actually with our future selves. The types of neurochemicals that can activate encounters with this circuit include DMT, found in ayahuasca, 5-MeO-DMT, produced in the Sonoran desert toad, high doses of LSD, and high but sub-anesthetic doses of ketamine. Other ways this circuit can get activated are by the awakening of Kundalini, a severe shock, or a near-death experience. As we are currently seeing in the massive technological boom over recent years, these future evolutionary states of consciousness may also be necessary for dealing with a transhumanist state that requires the merging of human biology with technology. So in summary of this 8-circuit model of consciousness, we have a model of consciousness developed by Timothy Leary and expanded upon by Robert Anton Wilson that describes the evolution of the brain throughout human development on a terrestrial planet, with the potential for future evolutionary states that are perhaps encoded within our DNA that may assist the development of off-planetary migration and dealing with states of consciousness not limited to the gravitational field of the Earth. So I hope that you've appreciated this presentation and perhaps gained something valuable or had some insight triggered for you. In future presentations, I will refer to this 8-circuit model and parallel it with more of my own personal experiences, as well as explore the potential for reverse engineering these psychedelic or extraterrestrial states of consciousness that can be endogenously produced as biochemistry manufactured within the endocrine system of the human body. If you'd like to continue journeying with me in more episodes of Future Self Dreaming, please hit the subscribe button and follow Future Self Dreaming on Instagram and Facebook. For information on counseling sessions and workshops, you can visit the website futureselfdreaming.com. In Lakesh.